the Malian armed forces received a fresh batch of ultra-modern combat equipment, an arrival not just of weapons, but of renewed hope and strength. The delivery was celebrated across the country. From small towns to major city centers, citizens gathered along roadsides to cheer the convoy, their national pride on full display. This development is more than a routine military upgrade. It symbolizes Mali's growing determination to reclaim full control of its destiny. The army, under the leadership of Colonel Assimi Goïta, continues to evolve, not just as a fighting force, but as the beating heart of Mali's sovereignty movement. Goïta, who has become a central figure in the region's resistance to foreign dominance, has made it clear that Mali will no longer be a passive recipient of outside dictates. Journalist Dimoko Konatigo-Sochiri described the scene vividly. He emphasized that the Malian army, now more determined than ever, is committed to restoring the full dignity of the Malian people. These new weapons, armored vehicles, tactical gear, and advanced surveillance tools are not just tools of defense. They are symbols of independence, an expression of a republican army that is ready to crush terrorism and any threat to national peace. The town of Seveningoro served as the landing point for these weapons, and local residents wasted no time expressing their support. One citizen declared that he felt immense pride in witnessing such a powerful display of national strength. He stated that these tools would go a long way in fortifying Mali's security, and added that, as the son of a former soldier, he felt an unbreakable bond with the armed forces. Further along the convoy's path, familiar faces re-emerged. Amadou Bati, a citizen long known for his vocal support of Mali's military, was seen again at the Monument of Independence. He at first welcomed the equipment in Seveningoro, and then followed it into the capital, continuing to wave the Malian flag in support. For Batili and others, this was not merely a military occasion, it was a declaration of resistance and self-reliance. As the convoy passed through the historic Boulevard of Independence, citizens from all walks of life lined the streets to honor the defenders of Mali's freedom. The celebration was spontaneous, genuine, and full of nationalistic fervor. People chanted, waved flags, and saluted the soldiers, not just for their strength, but for their role in a much bigger struggle, the struggle for African sovereignty. Mali's renewed military posture is part of a broader movement sweeping across West Africa, where countries are no longer content with being silent observers in their own affairs. Under the leadership of Assimi Goïta, and with strong regional alliances forming, particularly with Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, a new Pan-African spirit is taking root. Traoré, like Goïta, represents a new breed of African leadership, young, uncompromising, and committed to breaking the chains of neo-colonial control. Both leaders have openly challenged Western influence, expelled foreign troops, and redirected national resources toward internal development. They are not just military men. They are symbols of resistance, standing firm in defense of their nation's dignity. In recent years, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, 3 neighboring countries in the heart of the Sahel, have made historic decisions to expel French military forces from their territories. These moves marked a dramatic break from decades of military cooperation, widely seen by many in the region as a symbol of lingering French neocolonial control. Public sentiment had increasingly turned against the French presence, with citizens questioning why insecurity only seemed to grow despite years of military operations like Operation Barkhane. Mali was the first to act decisively. Under the leadership of Colonel Assimi Goïta, the country terminated defense agreements with France in 2022 and demanded a full withdrawal of French troops. Burkina Faso, led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré, soon followed suit, ending military accords and expelling French forces in early 2023. Niger, after the 2023 coup that ousted President Bazoum, joined the wave, with the new military leadership demanding the departure of French forces and closing airspace to French military aircraft. These expulsions were not just tactical decisions. They were deeply symbolic acts of sovereignty, signaling the end of an era where foreign military bases dictated African security strategies. The move resonated widely across the continent, galvanizing a broader Pan-African consciousness. Add your voice to the total liberation of Africa by leaving a comment in the comments section below. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more informative videos like this one. Another major step in the trio's fight for independence has been the rejection of the CFA franc, a colonial-era currency still controlled by the French treasury. Though long presented as a tool of economic stability, the CFA has been criticized for stifling economic autonomy and allowing France to maintain disproportionate control over West African monetary policy. In a coordinated message of defiance, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger announced their intention to abandon the CFA and establish a new sovereign currency that reflects their national interests, not those of a former colonizer. This bold economic move represents a long overdue shift toward financial independence. It aims to allow these countries to control their inflation, interest rates, and currency valuation, tools essential for real development. The decision to ditch the CFA isn't just about money. It's about breaking a cycle of dependency. By challenging the financial structures that have long tied their economies to Paris, these nations are taking control of their economic destinies. Perhaps the most ambitious move yet is the formal creation of the Alliance of Sahel States, announced in 2024. The union, comprising Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, aims to foster deeper political, economic, and military cooperation. It is an unprecedented alliance in modern African geopolitics, one built on shared values of sovereignty, self-determination, and mutual defense. This confederation signals a clear departure from Western-aligned blocs like ECOWAS, which these countries have increasingly viewed as compromised or ineffective. After ECOWAS imposed sanctions on them in response to military coups, the three Sahel nations responded by forging a stronger alliance among themselves, one rooted in trust, cultural affinity, and a common struggle against terrorism and foreign interference. The Confederation envisions integrated armed forces, harmonized foreign policies, and a shared economic agenda, including the development of a new currency. It also sends a powerful message to African youth that regional integration and true independence are not only possible, but already underway. Together, these actions represent a radical shift away from the post-colonial order that has dominated West Africa for decades. By removing foreign troops, abandoning the CFA franc, and forming a sovereign confederation, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are not just reacting to current crises. They are charting a new path for Africa. While these moves have drawn criticism from Western governments and institutions, they have been widely celebrated by citizens on the ground and by Pan-African thinkers across the continent. For many, this is not just a political realignment. It is the rebirth of African dignity. The Confederation's success will depend on strategic leadership, regional solidarity, and resilience in the face of external pressure. But one thing is clear: the Sahel is no longer just a battleground against terrorism. It is becoming the front line of Africa's struggle for genuine independence. In a stunning and unexpected financial achievement, the government of Burkina Faso announced it has cleared all outstanding internal debt. This includes unpaid government contracts, arrears to local suppliers, domestic loans, and other liabilities owed within the country. This move has stunned observers, especially considering the country's current political transition and regional instability. This development comes under the leadership of President Ibrahim Traoré, who has consistently emphasized self-reliance, sovereignty, and economic justice since coming to power. Clearing the internal debt was not just a technical financial decision, it was a powerful political statement. Since taking power, President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso has made it clear that defending the nation's sovereignty is non-negotiable. In a region destabilized by terrorism, foreign interference, and economic exploitation, Traoré has moved swiftly to strengthen the country's military capabilities. Under his leadership, Burkina Faso has purchased advanced military equipment, including armored vehicles, drones, communication systems, and heavy weaponry, from various non-Western allies, notably Russia and other emerging powers. These acquisitions are not symbolic. They are part of a concrete national defense strategy aimed at reclaiming territory from terrorist groups, reducing dependency on Western military aid, and empowering the country to defend itself without foreign boots on the ground. In the eyes of many Burkinabe citizens, Traoré's actions reflect bold leadership and genuine patriotism, breaking with a long-standing pattern where African nations outsource their security to former colonial powers. However, not everyone views Traoré's military purchases favorably. In a revealing and controversial statement, US AFRICOM Commander General Michael Langley publicly accused Traoré of diverting the country's gold reserves to purchase weapons for his own protection. According to Langley, Traoré was stealing from the people under the guise of national defense, an accusation that sparked outrage across Africa and the diaspora. The US claim reflects a deeper geopolitical anxiety, as Burkina Faso distances itself from Western influence and embraces independent military partnerships. Washington sees its strategic grip on West Africa slipping. Critics of Langley's statement argue that the accusation is politically motivated, aimed at undermining Traoré's legitimacy and painting him as a corrupt strongman, rather than acknowledging his populist appeal and sovereign stance. Inside Burkina Faso, however, Traoré enjoys growing support. There was mass protest in and out of Africa to support Traoré's efforts to regain Africa's sovereignty. Many citizens view the military build-up as long overdue, especially after years of ineffective foreign intervention that failed to secure the country from jihadist threats. Traoré's decision to buy weapons is seen not as self-protection, but as a fulfillment of his promise to restore security, dignity, and control to the people. His refusal to bow to Western criticism has made him a symbol of African resistance, particularly among youth who are tired of neo-colonial interference. In contrast to leaders who accept iron-nerve conditions and military aid with strings attached, Traoré is seen as walking the talk of independence. The accusation from the US is not just about gold or weapons, it's about narrative warfare. Traoré is being framed by some Western powers as a rogue leader, while others see him as a rising Pan-African revolutionary. At its core, this conflict is about control over Africa's resources, politics, and future. By investing in national defense and rejecting outside interference, Burkina Faso is challenging a global order that has long kept African nations at the periphery of power. Traoré, for his part, has not directly responded to the US general's accusations, but his actions suggest a clear position. The era of foreign dictates is over, and Burkina Faso will define its own path forward, on its own terms. This strategic rearming of Mali's army is not an isolated act. It reflects a rising tide. Across the Sahel, nations are rejecting dependency. Instead of begging for protection, they are building it. Instead of outsourcing their future, they are owning it. The implications are continental. As Mali arms itself, it sends a message to both allies and adversaries. Africa is changing. With new alliances, shared visions, and mutual support, countries like Mali and Burkina Faso are reshaping what power looks like on the continent. Mali is no longer just fighting terrorism. It is fighting the legacy of subjugation. It is fighting for the right to stand tall, govern itself, and protect its people with its own strength. And with allies like Ibrahim Traoré echoing that same call from Ouagadougou, West Africa is stepping into a new chapter. So the question now is this: are we witnessing the birth of a new Pan-African alliance, led not from conference rooms, but from the ground, by leaders willing to defend their sovereignty with action? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the streets of Mali have already made their choice. Tell us what you think in the comments section below. We explore the rich history, culture, and the ongoing struggle for sovereignty in Africa. Join us in this important conversation by subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you're not just staying informed, you're becoming part of a movement dedicated to reclaiming Africa's rightful place on the global stage. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Let's work together to spread knowledge and inspire change. Thanks for watching.